Today I want to talk about pleasure and happiness. Professor Robert Lustig, he's an American pediatric endocrinologist at the University of California, San Francisco. So I'm gonna take his words and incorporate mine to describe you and give an example of what's happiness and what's pleasure in our daily life, because more often than not we just ignore and we seek pleasure and we name that happiness. So pleasure is short-lived, happiness is long-lived. Pleasure is visceral, happiness is ethereal. Visceral means like the instinctive disgust like dogs have with cats, or like it's your instinctive gut feeling. And ethereal is like delicate thing, like heavenly something. So pleasure is taking, happiness is giving. For example, we upload our statuses on WhatsApp. For example, like we are driving a car in rain, or we are, for example, at the airport, or we are at just having a dinner at a restaurant and we are just posting pictures. So we need a validation of others, of our friends, of our just acquaintances, that we are happy in this moment. So how many people have seen us? That number of the people who have seen our statuses validates that, yes, oh my god, these many people watch me and I am really happy. The bigger the number is, the more happier you become. Same is the case with Instagram followers or likes on whatever. It's not something I'm making up. It's the psychology of the social media. So pleasure is taking. You are taking the validation of the others. You need the approval. And happiness is giving. For example, you give some money on the street, any beggar or anyone who's selling something, who's poorer than you. So you are just giving, and you don't need any validation. You don't need to post that on any WhatsApp, on Facebook or Instagram for that matter. It's just the feeling from within. You just receive it and you don't need anyone's approval. So happiness is always giving. Pleasure can be achieved with substances. Happiness cannot be achieved with substances. Pleasure can be achieved with substances mean like you want a new mobile phone. And then, for example, you need a car, you need a house, material things. These are temporary things. These are temporary pleasure, you may say. But happiness cannot be achieved with substances. Happiness is just a feeling from within, and even a street dweller can be happy than you, more than you. You just have to be experiential enough to look beyond the facial features. So pleasure can be experienced alone. Happiness is experienced in social groups. For example, you are happy and you need to express that, you need to give, you need to do for someone else. For example, you cook for your family, you cook for your father or mother or your husband or wife, you cook for them. You wash their clothes, you just pamper your children, you do stuff for somebody else. It is achieved with social groups. But pleasure can be experienced alone. You may interpret it in a different way, but this is my interpretation, that even if you are sad and alone, you can experience that pleasure just by one click, and you post a status on WhatsApp and you'll get many validations. But that's fake validation. But you're not happy. You are just seeking pleasure because you're sad, and that's temporary again. Extreme of pleasure leads to addiction. Of course, I don't need to elaborate on this. Extreme of pleasure leads to addiction, yet there's no such thing as being addicted to too much happiness, right? Pleasure is dopamine and happiness is serotonin. These are two hormones. uh, there's one thing that down regulates serotonin, and that's dopamine. So the more pleasure you seek, the more unhappy you get. Common sense, but most people don't get it. That's their life, no comments. But for I made some work on consumerism, and this is what I wrote. Obsession with a product or brand name has become substitutes for the healthy human relationships in contemporary time. This phenomenon is perhaps the root cause of alienation in fraternity. So you can buy happiness, and in the process we become most undecidedly unhappy. Modern human mind, which seeks artificial happiness in products and brands and sees consumerism as self-seeking. For example, you need a cake, you go to McDonald's and you eat the burgers, but at the same time you know that it's unhealthy, but you still eat it. That's addiction. You know that smoking is injurious to health, but still you smoke. That's addiction. That is pleasure, not happiness, but you still consume it. This obsession reminds me of a child's association with a particular toy, without which the child feels incomplete, as if that very toy is part of his or her actual self. A modern soul is a diseased, restless, and cathartic, yet unaware of its sickness. We do not really eat and drink in terms of nutrition. We eat and drink to attain the fulfillment of our addiction. For example, again, you go to McDonald's, you take a selfie, you take the food pictures and you post them on WhatsApp, on whatever social media, to gain the attention, to seek the artificial, temporary pleasure. People believe that they cannot possibly be happy without material wealth. Consumerism is like a sedative drug. So we consume, buy stuff that we think we need. Of course, enough is never enough, as Gandhiji said. There is enough for everyone's need, not enough for everyone's greed. I'm a huge fan of this guy, and in 2015 or 14, when I visited Chennai and Delhi, I took the charkha spinning and teachings of Gandhi course there at IIT Madras. So from that day till today, I'm still a fan. So in the end, I would like to quote again Rhoda Rubavathy. She says, I'm quoting this because next time you post a status on WhatsApp, or just to brag your, flaunt your new bought anything, or whether you're just dining in a hotel, before you just post the picture, I want you to just remember this. Is it making me a better person? Is it adding value to my life? Is it helping me to grow? Is it giving me peace? Is it making me feel positive? Is it uplifting me? Is it worth my time? Is it worth spending my energy on? Am I learning anything new? Is it building me up or breaking me down? So, do you think posting the status on WhatsApp, on just posting whatever you do on Instagram, you just telling people everything, whatever you're into, whatever you're on to, is that life? Is it meaningful? Or is it just waste of time? You can spend this time to help somebody or to educate someone. So next time you just post a status or something, keep these words in mind. That is it adding value to your life? Keep smiling because you deserve to be happy.